Hi guys, Paul here. Welcome back to the Anfield View. Yes, breaking news. We've signed a player. I know, stop the press. Miracles have happened. The heavens are opened. Okay, yes, it's a loan signing. It's from Barcelona. It's uh, Ronald ARAUJO, a centre back. Look, ultimately, have I seen that much about him? No, we'll all scramble through YouTube. What I do know, he's had 26 injuries in the past 4 to 5 years. A little bit of a sort of own iffish sort of in discipline record. Ultimately, look, at the end of the day, is he somebody that Barcelona sees the next sort of superstar defender? Who knows? Let's be honest. I'm hesitant to actually think that they've lent us to the world's greatest sort of up and coming centre back. But at the end of the day, our eyes could have been on Slotterback. Was it Nico Slotterback? But then he got an injury. He's out until September. Is this a situation where look needs must? I think look, at the end of the day, for me, I'm willing to give him an opportunity. Look, is it Stephen Corker all over again? Is it Clavan? Is it Kabak? Could well be. Look, it's one of these situations that yes, it's going to take up a foreign place in the squad. That poses problems and different questions in terms of the makeup of the squad. Is it the ultimate solution? I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, I'd much rather have four proven centre backs. They would argue that obviously you've got the Leone Jacquet that have cost a lot of money. You've got Virgil, and they would argue Joe Gomez is meant to be the fourth. So essentially, between half of Joe Gomez and half of Arojo, then invariably you end up getting the fourth person. Is it a better option for me than having Gravenberch and midfielders playing at centre backs? Time will. I would say my gut instinct is yes. Does that mean he's going to be amazing? I have no idea. Look, at the end of the day, would I much prefer us having a senior, experienced centre back, really starting with Virgil and then bringing Jacquet and Leone in? Absolutely. Was Slotterback meant to be that person? Maybe. Um, I, it's such a, when it comes to Liverpool's views on centre backs and centre back depth, it's a very hard situation. Whenever we've had depth when it comes to the centre back position, especially, it's usually because one's leaving further down the line. So if we end up with five centre backs, it's not necessarily by choice. It's usually been an overlap of when somebody's leaving or a youth prospect's come up. And so, look, deal's done. It's better than for me. It's better than no deal. It's better than going into the next couple of weeks with no deal. Would I like us to get another centre back that's vastly more experienced? Absolutely. If we could go out and buy another centre back now for 25, 35 million, that would then give us Leone, Jacquet, Virgil, Gomez, a Roja and somebody else with more experience, that would be wonderful. It'd mean we'd have the ability to rotate the squad. It'd mean we'd have the ability to give Xhaka and Leone time to get over their injuries, give us an opportunity to give Virgil some rest. It'd give us a chance to actually basically leave Joe Gomez to really cover the right back hassle that we've got as well. So is this job done in terms of covering the centre back? Knowing us, maybe. Would I still like us to go in again for another centre back, but maybe somebody who's vastly more experienced? Yes, please. That would be wonderful. But yeah, that's the breaking news, guys. As you saw it come from Fabrizio Romano. First of all, credit, obviously to him on this. Loan signing with an option to buy. The crucial part is it's an option, it's not an obligation. We shall see. If he does wonderful, we may well go and choose to buy him. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. Look, the bottom line is it's one of these situations for us at the moment. We haven't really replaced Canate. Obviously, Xhaka was done in January. Was that done with a view to Canate leaving? We did offer Canate a new contract for more money, so you would say no. So the ideal scenario, I don't think ever was really Xhaka to replace Canate, and we can't dress that up to be the truth. Because ultimately, I think long term, the club was probably looking at Canate being the established one and Xhaka coming through to partner him with Virgil finishing next year. And so I don't believe that Xhaka was purchased knowing that Kanate was leaving, but I do feel that maybe the urgency of bringing Xhaka in was heightened by the fact that there was a chance, a very real chance. I think we all called it 6 months ago that Kanate could be going on that front. So, look, I'd like to see Xhaka play against Monaco tomorrow. Will it happen? Phew, I'd like to see any minutes of him before. I mean, I don't know whether he's even going to be ready for the opening game of the season. Against Newcastle at this rate, it's going to be a race against time. Be nice to have an update on what actually is the situation with Leone as well. I thought Leone may be not too far away, but it doesn't seem there's no update at all. There's not really an update in terms of where Xhaka is. I thought he was definitely going to be playing maybe against Leeds, but especially against Monaco tomorrow. But there's no real updates forthcoming on that front. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at the moment, guys. I think I had also a chance to obviously hope you had a great week, have a fantastic weekend. Sorry for not mentioning that. In terms of really mixed messages. Wow, what a week of mixed messages we've had, guys. I mean, you've got on one hand Sky Sports reporting that where we've only just entered into talks with Bradley Barcola, and we're basically not we're the deal is going to be very hard to do, as if we're basically miles away when it comes to either the price and the clauses. And then on the other hand, you've got other journalists reporting it as if like the deal's basically done and we're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And so you've got two ends of the spectrum where and then they're so polarized and they're not even remotely close. You've got one basically saying we're nowhere near to getting the deal done. It's not even remotely close, and it's highly unlikely it's going to happen. And then on the other hand, you've got widely respected journalists saying it's basically an inch away from being done. What is the truth on Bradley Barcola? I don't know. I mean, ultimately, the thing that's got me with this transfer window is we wasted a month on Yan Diomande, and he had no inclination to want to join us. And we're miles away from the fee that they wanted that got done with Real Madrid, and we were never going to do it at that fee. So that was a month wasted. We then wasted nearly 4 to 6 weeks on Bradley Barcola on top of that. Still isn't done. Is it likely to be done anytime soon? I hope so. Purely for the fact that one, we need him, yes. Apart from the fact that we need him, it's really a question of if it doesn't get done. I don't know if my auntie was my uncle, but it's one of those. If it doesn't get done, we would have spent nearly 2/3 of this transfer window basically going down a dead end with two buys that never happened. And so, whilst I'm pleased with Muniz, I am an opportunist buy. Came in obviously when Newcastle nearly had the deal done. Cool, got no problem with that. Happy with ARAUJO as well. But equally, we've spent 2/3 of our time this month on two buys, and so far one's obviously gone to Real Madrid, and we were not even remotely close. And this one we're still yet to get over the line. It's taken forever and a day to get this Barcola deal done. And the problem is, my fundamental problem with the Barcola deal isn't Barcola. I've said from minute one, and you can go back and check the videos. I've said from minute one I wanted Barcola ahead of Diomande, and I've said for the last 6 months I wanted Barcola. And so I don't apologise for sort of mentioning that part. But what I will say is fundamentally that you got to use your time wisely. Apparently, we're prepared up to our armpits this transfer window. That's not my words. That was Michael Edwards said when he left. And so we've spent so much time. We've got literally 1 month to go. We've still got so much work to do. So either the club doesn't feel we have that much work to do, or we're going to have to cram it all in the last month. It didn't have to be this way. Like this centre back scenario, we could have had this boxed off a month ago and been working on another deal. Defensive midfielder, is it going to happen? Probably only happens if James leaves. I still think it's a priority. I don't think the club feels a priority. Are we going to get a backup striker because of the Ekatike injury? We shall see. It'd be great to hear your thoughts, guys. As I say, breaking news. Ronald Arroyo joins us. Hope that sort of brings you guys up to date. As I say, it's not a dream Virgil van Dijk centre back signing. We know that, but equally, will it solve a short-term problem and paper over cracks? Only time will tell. Look, I remember way back in the day when we got Alvaro Arbeloa on the cheap. Was he the world's greatest fullback? No. Did he do a good enough job? Yeah. Is it, how many loan signings have we had that haven't paid off? We've had Kabak and we've got Clavin and we've had Corker and God knows what else. We've tried every which way to not invest, to cover short-term problems, and they haven't always paid off. And we've sort of scrambled our way through it. Is it going to be one of those? It'd be great to hear your thoughts. Do you think it's going to be one of those scenarios, or do you think this is one that may pay off? Hopefully the very fact that Iriola knows the Spanish market, that maybe his insight and ultimately has been the one that pushes this one through and gets it over the line. Maybe the fact he's come to us is because of Iriola, obviously being Spanish, and he thinks this is a chance and a great opportunity. So yeah, we shall see, guys. It's been a very bizarre week. In one hand, it feels literally like nothing's moved at all. When you see reports, as I say, just to sort of run down on it, you hear reports about we're not even remotely close to Barclay, and where the deal's incredibly difficult to do, and we literally only just entered talks. And you sit there and you're banging your head against the wall, thinking, how is it physically possible? Whereas we've only entered talks with Barclay this week. That just cannot be. We must have been in talks with PSG before this week. I just can't believe that to be true. We've been working on this, or should have been working on this for the last month. The minute Diamante didn't go through and was done and gone, we should have been straight onto this. And I appreciate Barclays at the World Cup, but that's a fair distance to go now. And so for me, when it comes to the fee with Barclay, it should have been one that's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. Probably 10 days ago for me. And so the very fact we're still sort of trying to haggle and get it over the line is like, look, will it be worth it if it gets it done? Ask me at the end of the transfer window. Yeah, will it be, because there's two parts to it. It's like, will it be worth it by getting the player? Sure. If that amount of time we've spent on him impacts us solving the rest of the squad, then not necessarily. Because as I said to you guys at the start of this transfer window and for the last 12 months, ultimately, this transfer window isn't about just replacing Mo Salah and getting a great player in Barker. And I'm really happy if we do get him, but equally, there's a lot of other areas of the squad that need to work. At the end of the day, right back, still maybe need another centre back. I would argue a defensive midfielder would maybe need a backup striker. We got situations with Gakpo, will he stay or will he go? We got situations with who's going to give Isak a rest. There's a lot of imponderables, isn't there, regarding where we're at this moment in time. And ultimately, we need to have a system in place that's going to get the best out of our superstar buys. We've got to somehow get Isak fit. Don't doubt his ability. Will he bang in 20, 25 goals if he stays fit? Absolutely. Got no issues at all on Isak. Can we unlock the real Florian Wirtz that we've all seen in Germany and plays for Germany? That is crucial for us. Does it become slightly less crucial if you get Barclay? Look, it means we're not all hyperventilating over every performance. Equally it takes pressure off Muniz and takes a little bit of pressure off Rio because he will be the one that will be really eyeballs down and focusing on. So, let me know your thoughts, guys. What's the next taxi cab on the rank? Hopefully we wake up tomorrow and Barclay signed. Who knows? Literally it's mixed messages here, there, and everywhere. Literally, you look to the left and they say it's literally an inch from being done. You look to the right, they say it's not even remotely being done. You look even further to the right, it says we've literally only just opened talks, like at the back end of this week, which you think, how is that physically possible? We're only just opened talks when over here they said the deal's basically been an inch away from being signed. So I don't know. I don't know where these people are getting various sources from. And as I say, they're more in the know than what I am. But they're obviously not getting the same source, on that front. So it's a bit like, it feels like the difference between tomato sauce and brown sauce and salad cream and mayonnaise. If you want to use those analogies, it really does feel like you've got those contrasts of where the Barclay situation is. As I say, for me, it's not all about Barclay, but if you're going to invest this amount of time on it, please get it over the line. And also just remember, we've got a lot of other areas to be working on. But the good news is, praise everything. The very fact that we've actually been able to get another deal done whilst actually, in theory, working on another deal, something that I don't think any of us thought we were doing. So let's hope we can actually work on maybe two or three more deals whilst we're still trying to get Barclay over the line. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? That really would be a happy weekend, guys. So yeah, you have a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed this breaking news. Speak to you more soon. You take care. Bye bye.